California A440XL amp. Amp power's on, but missing 2 screws. And on top of missing 2 screws, one of the RCA inputs is missing. Completely broke off. I have noticed that when I hook it up, and I actually hook it up to a subwoofer, it's only got the 1 RCA input. So when I turn it up so far, it actually will shut the amp off. And then I have to turn it back down. So it seems like it doesn't want to put any real power out because of the 1 RCA is missing. But there is possibly some other internal issue with the power output supply. Honestly, could not say. I've never opened the amplifier. Super clean. Serial number, model number. But this amp is actually not a bad little amp. It does power up. It does work. Now, speaking of California amps, I got a slightly older one. 2200 series, 240 watt 2-channel. Very close in design. They use the same structural housing, but the difference between it was, drop my phone, let me flip that back around, was the way they hooked everything up. This is such a tight fit to try to get into. It takes one of the smallest Allen wrenches I have ever used. If my phone will focus now. Now that I dropped it, my phone don't want to focus. Okay, but there you go. But for the speaker outputs over here, I've never had this amp power on because I don't have power wire tiny enough to actually fit inside the inputs. It's approximately a small 8 gauge, maybe a 12 gauge wire to fit internally for the power and the grounds. But the fuse holder is not busted, it's just dirty. Amp's a little dirty around the edges, but it's identical to that one. And it's a very old school amp. It's not bad. I wish they worked because they used to be really good amp back in the day. Then the other one, the Sonic amp, does not power on at all. It's actually junk in my opinion. I never liked the Sonic. I always thought they were shit. Subwoofers, depends on the series. Amplifiers, junk. Now, I have a Kicker 500.2 KX old school amplifier. The only issue with this amplifier, and I could not find it, I even tried to go through my sources with Kicker and did not find anything. These settings are no good, and they are so loose, they do not work. The amplifier power's on, and as you can see, that is super loose. I have all the screws sitting in there. The amplifier, the power's on, works 100%, works through all the settings, but you can't adjust it. That is the only physical problem with this amplifier. I have it completely tore apart on the outside shelling, only because my intentions were to try to get it repaired. I have no time to repair any amplifiers at this time. Everybody keeps asking me. I do not have time to do it. And I have another Kicker, old school IX404 4-channel amp. This is the old Impulse series. All the screws are here. Took a single 40 amp fuse. The amp used to power on. I don't know. I'll have to check it here in 1 second. I'll hook it up in a minute. But okay, here's the IX404. This is what it does. It's going in and out of protection mode. You can see it just flashes. The light down here actually goes red, fades out to orange, turns green for a second, shuts back to red. It's almost like a yellow. It's not more of a green, it's more yellow. Let me see if I can get close enough to actually pick that color ratio up. But that is the issue with this amp. And the only other amplifier that I have is a Earthquake amp in there. It's completely butchered and destroyed on the inside of the amplifier. I'll try to dig it out. I don't really want to dig it out because it's just a pain in the ass amp. Now, this is the inside structure of the Earthquake amp, which Earthquake, haven't seen any of them amps around in forever. I had the screws out, they're right here. They go to the back plate for the bottom of the amp. There is actually a zip tie on here, which I've never seen an amp held together with a zip tie, and a shit ton of silicone. It doesn't feel like glue, it feels like silicone. It's possible it was on there before, but I already know it's not, because somebody had tried to ghetto rig and repair this. You can see it down here. That is actually speaker wire to create a circuit on this amplifier. It's hard to actually get some light down inside here the way it's shaped. So let me try twisting it around. I'm not going to be able to. So let me spin it around here. The FETs, I would say, are bad. I wouldn't trust the amp. I mean, it's a heavy amp for its size, but if you come across, you'll see those FETs are completely separated. There is nothing on the other side of them. It's completely gone. These are starting to break right here. Same with them. A lot of the resistors look good, but it looks like somebody had tried to repair this at one time before just to make it work. This is something you don't see in a lot of amps anymore. These are actually for all the crossover settings. But you see this one here's got some corrosion on it. But there we go. I don't know what they were thinking. I got the amp like this for nothing. The guy thought I could repair it. I told him I wouldn't touch it because of this right here, and I wasn't messing with it. It was too much of a headache. The amp's old, and not only that,
I don't trust some of the work that's in here, especially this right here. I have never seen a zip tie to hold something together. But looking down here, it doesn't look like, it does not look like the board was drilled. It looks like that was there. So that's what I don't get. It could have been, but it's just odd that there's a hole there and then there's a zip tie. And this doesn't feel like the normal glue inside of an amplifier. It's actually silicone, which I know they do use silicone in some, but I've never seen that much of it. It's just piled into the center. I have one other amp sitting right here. All the MOSFETs are blown out of it. It's a really large amplifier. It's a VM audio. I will have to get the rest of it. I have actually taken some of these out to remove some of the FETs, because the FETs are actually, if I come across you can see it, FETs are actually blown, they're actually cracked. Some of them are actually worse than this one. This one's not too bad. I use this one to get the reference number off of it. But amp does not power on whatsoever. You can see the VM in the bottom of it. But this amp actually has 8 gauge wire inside, which comes across. But I already started checking out the amp for the customer. All these FETs, every single one of them is bad, all the way down both sides, and there is a shit ton inside this amp. I'm actually starting to lose my voice. Try to lift this thing. This amp actually houses 0 gauge wire. It's a monoblock amp. It's just a monster amp. And it's approximately 2 feet long total. Bring the amp out in the light some. It's the Encore Edition Mono Block Hyper Digital Power Amp.
You're whooping your nene, right? Just after 10, Nathan fast jumping in with Silento next.
I'm gonna these aren't popped. These are actually, they seem good. I did a resistor test on them. They seem pretty good. But as soon as I opened the amp up, I already knew it. I mean, it was instantaneous that all these FETs over here were shot. And you can see. But this 8 gauge wire is actually to go to the speakers, which travels across and comes in over the top of here.
And that's a pretty massive amp. It's a lot of internal structuring.